Hello, greetings, and of course, good day, mate. I am the Howl, it's a Hound, and of course, you can call me Hound or Connor. And welcome to the very first episode of a podcast that I have yet to name. And that is not the name of the podcast, just so we're clear. I'm not ironically titling my podcast here. I have literally just failed to come up with a decent name for this, so it hasn't got one yet. I've had some suggestions. Someone had once said Connor's Corner. And when I say someone, I mean literally everyone I have talked to has suggested Connor's Corner. And I utterly refuse to call this Connor's Corner. That being said, some of you lovely people out in the world watching this right now might be wondering, well, you're probably not, might be wondering, why I'm here right now. Why am I currently here doing what I call a podcast when I am on another podcast? That podcast is called Comic Thoughts, obviously. Most of you who are watching this probably have already seen at least a couple of episodes of Comic Thoughts where I'm over there with Sam and Ashraf. Well, I should be over there with Sam and Ashraf. I was on this week's episode of Comic Thoughts, but I haven't been on the last few, and I'm probably not going to make it to the next few. And the reason for that is simple. I changed jobs earlier this year. I got a new job working as a trainer at a gym called Power to Move. I love working at Power to Move, by the way. I started up there as a client, and then I got a job, and I've been working in there since August. The job requires me to be there like late afternoon, sometimes moving towards nighttime. And the unfortunate consequence is that Sam and Ashraf, who are usually more available in the morning, I got that backwards. I'm more available in the morning. Sam and Ashraf are more available in the afternoon, moving towards nighttime. By the time I get home, it's very late, and none of us really want to record Comic Thoughts too late at night. And none of us really want to record on the weekends. So we're in this situation where Sam and Ashraf, their schedules are lining up well enough for them to keep filming together, but mine isn't. And we looked at every day we could, every time we could, and it just wasn't lining up. And it was getting to the point where I was really missing doing podcasts. I was really missing doing this. And if I can't do it over there with the lads, we decided that maybe I should try doing this, something by myself, something that I can do that makes me feel like I'm not gonna miss out. And you lovely people, you don't have to miss out on me either, hearing my opinions on things, which of course is incredibly important to every single one of you. I can imagine that all of you are just waiting to hear what I have to say. And it's because of you waiting to hear what I have to say, because of how important it is that you know what I want to say, that I get my own spin-off show. Speaking of which, nailed that segue. Agatha Harkness is getting her own show. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this on this week's episode of Comic Thoughts. Ashraf was the one who brought it up, I believe. And yeah, I've been thinking about this all week, and I am 100% all for it. Catherine Hahn, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She's great, obviously. She was amazing in the role. Agatha was an awesome character, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized we didn't actually know much about Agatha Harkness as a character. Like, we met Agnes and knew her for about 7 episodes, but we didn't really know much about Agatha Harkness beyond the little bit of origin story that we got from her. Her motivations weren't the clearest. Like it boiled down to Scarlet Witch was powerful, and Agatha Harkness wanted to take that power for herself. It wasn't very clear if this was a selfish motivation or if she had some kind of more noble desire behind it. Like she actually believed that she could control the power and Wanda couldn't, so she was going to relieve Wanda of this burden. Or if it was, give me your power. I personally would have thought it was the former, because I feel like that's more of a character than just I'm evil and greedy, but it could have been the latter easily. I think that is something that can be cleared up in an Agatha Harkness show. And part of the reason why I'm for it is because she seems like a character with so much behind her. She's an old character and she's a sorcerer too. So this is another way we can dive into the more magical side of the MCU, which is something that we've only had a little bit of an exploration for. We've seen a little bit with Doctor Strange. Obviously, we've seen what he's done in the Avengers movies. We see a bit in Thor, but Thor's sort of been more in that mid-zone. Shang-Chi has obviously leaned into that. Bit by bit, this magical world, which is a hugely expansive universe, is unfolding. And I think this is Disney Plus's way of getting involved in that. Plus, with a character like Agatha Harkness, she's so, I want to say bare bones in the comics and different enough from her comic counterpart that there's so much they can do with the character. Like they have a license to creativity to do what they want to do. And I actually think that leads to some of the best things that the MCU has had is that ability to do a little bit different, be a little bit more creative. Like look at Guardians of the Galaxy, great example. Like that is clearly based on the comics and clearly has a love for the comics, but is not a one-for-one translation of any Guardians of the Galaxy comic. If anything, the comics have done a one-for-one translation of the movie since the original movie's release. So I personally love the idea of this Agatha Harkness show. I love the fact that we're getting it. And you know what? This is all just a Trojan horse. This whole thing here, this spiel, this is a whole Trojan horse to honestly say that the show needs to be called Agatha all along, and they just need to use that theme song. Like legitimately, that's my one main thing, that this show, whatever it is, action, comedy, animated, live action, it has to be called Agatha all along. They have to use that absolute masterpiece of a theme song that they already have for her. Like it's right there. They've literally given her a theme song that got super popular when it came out. So there's no way they can't. They have to lean into that. Also, Agatha Harkness might finally get an action figure out of this. I'm not sure if you notice, I have a lot of action figures in my room here, and not a single one of them is Agatha Harkness because not a single company has done one. Not Marvel Legends, Marvel Select, or Hot Toys even, who have all done Scarlet Witch and Vision and even White Vision. But the main villain, the one who's behind so much of what happens in the show, hasn't even received anything. It's weird. So hopefully getting her own Disney Plus show means that we'll actually get Agatha Harkness in some form or manner. And I am so looking forward to that. Now, moving on, because I think there's not really much more to be said about that because it's all just speculation at this point. I wasn't even sure if it was like a real thing at first. I thought people were pulling my leg when they said that. But moving on to something that has been confirmed fully that we have a bit more information on yet, I'm still not sure what to expect, is Dragon Ball Super Superhero got a trailer. And it's a teaser trailer. It's not much, and I barely know anything about what I'm looking at when it comes to Dragon Ball Super Superhero, but I'm excited nonetheless. First of all, I'm excited because the last Dragon Ball Super movie, Dragon Ball Super Broly, is my favorite Dragon Ball movie. I love it so much. In fact, the reason I'm currently collecting Dragon Ball SH Figure Arts figures is because I wanted to have Super Saiyan Blue, Gogeta, and Broly somewhere in my collection. Like I wanted figures of them. So I grabbed some Dragon Ball All-Stars figures of them and was severely disappointed by what I got. So I went and bought some SH Figure Arts and fell in love with the style of figure. So I'm literally spent like thousands of dollars. Like this shelf to my left here, which I'd show you, but it's a bit of a mess. It's all a bit of a mess at the moment. This shelf to my left here is like thousands of dollars of action figures that all happened because of Dragon Ball Super Broly. So naturally, when they announce a new movie for Dragon Ball Super, I'm excited. And then they call it Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and I get a little bit of both excitement and like almost like, not saying I'm, like red flag, like, oh, I don't know about this, but whenever there's like a superhero addition to anything, there's always a sort of question in my head, like, okay, are you just putting superheroes in there because they're popular, or do you actually have a reason for superheroes to be a thing? And then I remembered that there's the whole Great Saiyaman deal with Gohan, and I'm like, that has to happen in this, right? Like the Great Saiyaman has to make his triumphant return to the series with this movie. Like, there's no way he couldn't. He has to, right? Well, we haven't even seen Gohan in anything Dragon Ball Super superhero related so far, despite the fact that he would be the superhero of the Dragon Ball world. But what we did see is that the setup of this movie seems to be that there's an evil organization, a shadowy evil organization with a really short, really round, really fat guy seemingly in charge of it, and a suave businessman who sees like his little sidekick. And they, for some reason, have interest in Goku, Piccolo, and Vegeta, and also Majin Buu, by the looks of things. They seem to have an interest in all these people that we know as our Z fighters or our heroes of the Dragon Ball story, but they seem to have an interest in them for their powers, if I'm not mistaken. See, I've gotten information here and there about this, and none of it is like clear cut on certain details. Like it says something about in a small description of the movie, discover or investigate the power of the supers. And I am like, who are the supers? Are the supers our heroes, like Goku and all that, or are the supers these other two new characters who have also popped up in this trailer? See, there are these gray guys. They wear these yellow costumes with number 1 and number 2 written on them. They got capes. Are they the supers? Are they heroes or are they villains? I actually don't know who these guys are either. I initially would have thought that these guys were the superhero, but then I realized there was 2 of them, and now I'm not sure. Like every implication based on the trailer seems to show someone fighting Goku and Piccolo, and I'd assume that might be these guys. So are these guys the villains? I don't know. All I know is I actually really like their designs. Like I actually really like the way they look. They look like Dragon Ball characters. They're clearly designed by Akira Toriyama or someone trying to ape Akira Toriyama. I'm also not sure about who's working on this movie, but they look cool, regardless if they're heroes or villains. I'd almost put my money on villains. But when I started looking at the recently revealed at New York Comic Con 2021, Toy Arc said that they were protagonists when they were showing off they had their gallery of images from New York Comic Con. And I was like, oh, so they are heroes. Are they the superheroes? Like, I don't know. I'm going back and forth in my head. And to be honest, I don't really think I'm going to know until we're way closer to the movie. In fact, when it comes to Dragon Ball Super Broly, I actually didn't know anything about the Broly movie until we got there. Like, I legitimately, until I was sitting in theaters watching the dub, I did not really know anything about the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. I just knew Broly was in it. I didn't even know Gogeta was in it. I was happy when Gogeta was in it. Mind you, Gogeta is bloody awesome, but I think like it's going to be the same thing here. I'm not going to know much about this until I get there. What I do know, and one thing I'm really happy about, and I'm hoping there's more to it, is Pan. Pan's in it. Pan, little baby Pan, Gohan's daughter, is in this. And she's getting trained by Piccolo, and she's powering up. And I think that's really cool. See, the thing is that Dragon Ball Superhero is set obviously after Broly. This whole Super thing is set before the end of Z. And then after Z is Dragon Ball GT. Theoretically, Dragon Ball GT is obviously not canon. Super, it's argued if that's even technically canon. Some people only think that Dragon Ball Z is canon, and even then it's just the Dragon Ball canon. And there's a whole bunch of things about the Xenoverse and the expanded multiverse and timelines and, you know, all of that fun stuff that comic book fans deal with all the time, but is now somehow, I think, more debated and more confusing in the Dragon Ball fandom. It seems like, you know, Pan, you know, like Pan from GT, she had a big role in that. You know, I don't know if Pan in this show is going to move towards being like Pan from GT. I don't know. I also haven't read any of the manga post Broly. Like I haven't read any of the manga really at all. I've read bits and pieces of the original run. I've not read any of the super manga. So I'm kind of, you could almost look at me like a bit of a fake fan, I guess, in that regard, because I haven't gotten around to reading the manga. Sorry about that. But I would love to see Pan as a character to begin to evolve into at least something akin to what we saw in GT. Because while GT wasn't a perfect show, it did a few things right, and I for some reason I always liked Pan from that show, and of course Trunks as well, liked him as well. And hopefully, given that there seems to be a bit of a time skip in this show, like Pan's a bit older by the looks of things, I hope what that means is that Trunks and Goten are teenagers, because they are, they look like they've been 8 years old for about a decade now. I think this show is like this movie should be set like, like at least 5 to 10 years after the defeat of Boo, right? I'm a bit shaky on my Dragon Ball timelines. Again, maybe I'd be a bit better if I actually read the manga, but I haven't. I'm also rewatching all of Z right now. I'm actually rewatching Dragon Ball Kai, to be exact. So I'm just finished a few months ago, watched all of the original Dragon Ball anime. I'm now watching Dragon Ball Kai, and I'm up to the Android Saga. Trunks literally just showed up and cut Frieza right in half. So I have yet to actually watch the Dragon Ball Super dub in its full, like in its entirety. So maybe somewhere in there I get a better idea of timelines, but at the moment I'm just confused a little. I know relatively where things are set, like what happens before what, but the actual time between certain events I'm shaky on at best. So I don't know when this movie is set. I just know looking at it, Pan's definitely older. Like she looks at least 3, which was I think how old Gohan was. And I did read somewhere that Piccolo is apparently going to be training her, which I like that. That's it's not only a nice callback to the start of Z with Gohan and Piccolo, but it's just a really cool, really nice role for Piccolo to have. He is not the strongest fighter by any means anymore, but he is one of the most intelligent and talented, and seems to have a knack for training young fighters. He's trained Gohan, he's trained Goten and Trunks, and by extension Gotenks. So yeah, I am incredibly happy to see that Piccolo's got like a defined role, hopefully moving forward, if that is what he is indeed doing in this movie. Because again, nothing, beyond the trailer. All I've read is like a couple of reports and some hearsay. I don't know if there's a more full synopsis somewhere that I missed out on. So I'm excited. I think the last thing I really want to note about this is that Vegeta is wearing gear similar to his Buu Saga gear. The sort of the tights and the sleeveless shirt thing he has going on, gloves and boots. And I'm really happy with that. Like I love, don't get me wrong, Vegeta's Saiyan inspired gear, like he's been wearing throughout Super and the Broly movie. I love that. It's obviously, it's right. It's classic Vegeta in many regards. It's not first appearance OG Vegeta, but it's classic Vegeta. I really like it when Vegeta gets his guns out though. Like I just think there's something so cool about Vegeta's look when he's like got, he's obviously this rich, short dude. Like he's this little dude with an attitude, and he's ripped to all hell. It's like Wolverine. Like I prefer when Wolverine has his guns out, when he's got his, his muscles out, and he's bulging, and he's just ready to mess someone up. That's my go-to for Wolverine. That's my go-to for Vegeta as well. So I love the fact that we're going back to that Buu Saga look, and I think maybe my, like a personal favorite look for me would be a combination of the two, like sleeveless, guns out, armor. That would be cool. I think that would be like my personal ultimate design for Vegeta if they ever asked me, which they wouldn't. But if they ever did ask me, I'd say combine them, take the best elements from all of it. But we're going with Buu Saga here. The colors are a bit darker than Buu Saga by the looks of things. And probably one of the biggest things about this trailer and about Superhero, the animation. I was completely forgot until I mentioned the color. It looks like it's 3D animated. Like everything looks 3D animated. It's clearly Dragon Ball, but it looks like this could be like a really well done cutscene from like Super Kakarot, from Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Is it Super Kakarot? It's Z Kakarot, the video game. I haven't even played that yet. I think I've got to at some point because it looks cool. A bit grindy, but looks cool. But yeah, like it looks like a cutscene from that game, or potentially like could pass off as a cutscene from Fighter Z. Actually, that's another one I don't know how to pronounce because I've never heard anyone pronounce it other than Fighters. I'd assume it's Fighters. It's one word. But Fighter Z is a Dragon Ball Z. Has that? I'm just gonna go with Fighters because it's easier. Fighters looks like it could be a cutscene from that as well. So maybe that's the direction for the Dragon Ball animation moving forward. Maybe that's what we'll be seeing from these movies potentially. I don't know if it's more or less cost effective than drawing it. Obviously, myself and a lot of other fans have a great attachment to the more drawn style. The Broly movie was fantastic, but even that had some CGI in there. I didn't mind the CGI in Broly. I actually quite liked a lot of the scenes where the CGI was present. So, we'll just have to wait and see the movie. I feel like even if, I feel like as long as the movie is good, the story's good, everything's good, then the animation will be accepted by the fan base, generally speaking, I feel, because it still looks like Dragon Ball. And I think that's the most important thing is so long as it looks like Dragon Ball, and feels like Dragon Ball, then you can sort of be a little, get a bit inventive with how you present it in that regard. So that is a Dragon Ball Superhero, which again, I'm super excited that we're getting more. No word on whether or not Super is coming back as a show, whether or not we'll get like an animated version of the Moro arc or anything. If not, I guess I better start reading that manga. Hey. Now, speaking of animation, we also got a trailer for The Legend of Vox Machina. Now, for those who don't know, Critical Role is probably the most well-known Dungeons and Dragons internet series. It is a game run by Matt Mercer. By Matt Mercer, and he and all his friends are all voice actors. They gather around and they play Dungeons and Dragons live for everyone to watch at home. And it's good. Matt Mercer, great dungeon master. The players are all good. They know Matt Mercer's style. It's fun to watch. I've watched very little of it though. I've watched a bit of season 1 and a bit of season 2. Season 2 is already over, so I'm super far behind. But when it was announced that they were going to be doing their own animated series, despite the fact that I was pretty much behind in every regard on their whole thing, based on their season 1 characters and some adventures that they went on, I backed the Kickstart, the fan Kickstart thing. I forgot what it was on. I think it was on Kickstarter. I backed the crowdfunding that they needed for it because the idea of a animated Dungeons and Dragons show is awesome to me. It's like, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I play it every week at this point almost. I think I've got a game. I've got 2 games I'm a player in and 1 game I'm a dungeon master in at the moment, and I love doing all of it. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for over a decade now. In fact, I've been playing for about 14 years at this point in time. And it's one of my favorite things to do is to create characters, create worlds, and then explore both of them to role play and adventure and the drama and the action and the comedy, all of it. It's living this amazing adventure, and I'm obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons. And I love the idea of creating an animated series for D&D that will hopefully maybe get people who haven't tried it to see it and fall in love with it. I love the idea of Dungeons and Dragons now moving into things like action figures as well. Like NECA just announced their AD&D figures. They've announced, this was like 2 weeks ago, I believe. It was Warduke and Grimsword, who I believe are based on some Dungeons and Dragons action figures from like the 80s or something. I'm not too brushed up on my AD&D or early D&D knowledge, to be completely honest with you. But like, we got these action figures, we got this series. Like, I love the idea of pushing into doing more with Dungeons and Dragons outside of the initial game, because I love D&D so much. I'd love to see it succeed and get more popular. Obviously, with things like Stranger Things, the D&D was brought into the public eye. And I thought that was awesome for someone who hasn't even watched Stranger Things. I'm just happy that that's happened. Critical Role has obviously brought a lot of people to the table as well, quite literally people to the table when it comes to D&D, because they've seen it and they've fallen in love with it. I think this is great. And even better is it's coming out on Prime Video next February. So about 4 months away. I think it's February 2nd or 22nd, something like that. It comes out. And last animated series I watched on Prime was Invincible. And that series was amazing. So if this is even half as good as Invincible, that's going to be awesome. So I am so looking forward to this series, not just because it looks cool. The animation looks great. The art style is amazing. Like, it looks cool. And I just really want to see how things like this and the new NECA lineup start to hopefully maybe get more and more people invested in Dungeons and Dragons moving forward. That's my hope. That's my want. Maybe I can actually get Sam and Ashraf to finally give it a go as well. Maybe I'll dungeon master for them. I'll get around to it eventually when I have time. We'll sit down and play a D&D game. I will make you do it, Sam. It will happen. All right. So from animation to articulation. I'm still trying to figure out how to do segues. I nailed one segue. I kind of did the second one all right. This one here is a little off. This week saw the end of the crowdfunding for the Haslab Victory Saber. And oh boy, I am actually really excited about this. See, this is the thing. I haven't actually watched Transformers Victory, right? Transformers Victory is a Japanese exclusive cartoon. It's part of the Japanese G1 timeline, but Star Saber I'm familiar with because he seems to be a character that people really like. Not just the Japanese audience, but even the American audience seems to really like Star Saber. There's just something about him that's cool, and that has led to some kind of cult popularity of the character. We haven't really seen much in the way of Transformers Victory characters in modern Transformers toys, or even really in modern Transformers media. Like, Star Saber did show up in a comic in IDW, I believe, but like that's like the extent of it. We saw a Masterpiece figure get made like 10 years ago at this point, so it is, you know, it's been a bit of a shortage of Transformers Victory characters. Haslab, about a month ago, decided that they were going to announce the Transformers Haslab Victory Saber, which was this be-all, end-all set for Star Saber. And what I mean by be-all, end-all is that the initial backing, if it met its 12,000 backer limit, so this is a Haslab, this is like their own personal version of a crowdfunding website. They needed 12,000 backers to make it so that the figure was going to happen. They reached that near the end of its run. They reached the 12,000, and what the set would come with would be the small Brainmaster of Courage, the Brainmasters being like little tiny Transformers that I think function as brains for the robots. I guess Star Saber is this thing. I don't know. Again, I'm not too familiar with the Victory series. It comes with the Autobot Saber, which is this little robot who, well, not little, I think like deluxe class, average size transformer, turns into like a space jet. That is Saber himself. That is Saber, the character, who I believe is powered by the brain of Courage, which is the small brain master, which is going to be like this big, fits into a little compartment in his chest. That then can combine with, and I have actually got this up, this huge space jet thing that then turns into his more recognizable Star Saber robot mode. The one that I'm familiar with, the one that I can recognize just by looking at it. And then furthermore, it also comes with Victory Leo, who is another character in the Victory series, who he can then combine with to form an even bigger robot. So, you know, we're getting like, you know, 3 major separate pieces there: Victory Leo, Saber, and this jet thing by the looks of things. And then you get the little Brainmaster of Courage. Victory Leo came with some guns. Victory Saber or Star Saber comes with a sword and some guns as well, I believe. That was just base. That was pretty cool. Like, you know what? For the price, it's a lot, but this figure looked really cool. They were pushing that they were going to really, you know, work on articulation for this character. They did. They gave him like butterfly joints, which for Transformers is not common because of the nature of Transformers. Like because of the engineering, it's so separate from action figures today that you can't just implement, you know, shoulder, you know, butterfly joints, which lets you do that, you know, that sort of shoulder blade movement. You know, that sort of that movement is not really accomplished for a lot of Transformers. Like you look at Alpha Trion here, like there's a sort of, for the transformation you can do that, and you can sort of do that, and that's, you know, he's got that, but that's because of his actual transformation. That's how his arm is meant to come out to turn into a lion, right? You look at someone here like the much smaller Bug Bite, and there's not really, without having to do a bunch of small, tiny bits and pieces to go in there, but a bunch of extra joints that could, you know, be quite fragile as well. You know, the parts count then has to go up, and the parts count in Transformers apparently is quite important because it seems to, you know, this is a deluxe class figure, but so is this, you know, significantly different in size, but the parts count on Bug Bite here is bigger than that of Red Alert. So, you know, you have more parts to add more joints, it becomes a more expensive figure. So they were really focusing on articulation for Star Saber here, and one of those parts of articulation is the little shoulder movement there for the butterfly joint. That's base figure though. All of that I just mentioned: articulation, the 2 guys, the jet, and the little Courage of Brainmaster of Courage. That's all one set. That was 12,000 backers. We then reached the 14,000 backer tier 1, which was the V-Lock cannons. And I'm pretty sure V would stand for victory, but I could be wrong. Just my guess. Again, I've only done the barest minimum research on this because I might as well just watch the show at this point now. I might as well try and find somehow I can watch Transformers Victory. Maybe there's a DVD out there. Watch the show and actually find out through experiencing the story itself. But I'm going to assume that V-Lock is victory. The V-Lock cannons are these massive bugger off cannons that just these huge things by the looks of things. And they come with effect pieces, these huge green blast effects. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you know anything about V as a collector, effects pieces, always effects pieces. They turn an okay or a cool toy to a cool / amazing toy like that. As far as I'm concerned, if you can give me effect pieces, if it's Spider-Man's web slinging, if it's Mysterio's smoke effects, if it's fire that you can put in Grimlock's mouth, or lightning for Thor's hammer, anything. I don't care if it's a swooshing effect you can put on the Flash. Effects pieces are the best thing. They just add so much dynamic character. Like they add character and so much dynamic visual interest in a figure as far as I'm concerned. especially when it comes to cannons like this giant V-Lock cannon. So I am really happy that we unlocked that. That unlock and the base figures, enough for me to be happy. But they also then got to their, I believe it was 17,000 backers. We got a flight stand. The flight stand is this really awesome. It's got like the Transformers Victory logo. It's a really nice, sturdy looking flight stand that looks like it's going to be able to handle the weight of the full like Victory Saber combined form with Victory Leo. It looks awesome. It's a simple but pretty looking flight stand. I love it. I'm so glad we got it. It takes this already cool set into something that's like a must get for me. Then there was tier 3, 20,000 backers, and on the day, the last day of the backing time frame, we got 20,000 backers. We unlocked the V Shield, I believe it's called, and we unlocked 2 Micromasters. I'm trying to remember the Micromasters names. Hang on, I'll just pull it up. Tier 3 is, I don't think it says it anywhere. Micromasters, Holly and Fire are their names. So they are obviously Autobots from the Victory series. I think there's a team of 4 Micromasters from Transformers Victory, if I'm not mistaken, on the Autobot team. And these are 2 halves of it, which these 2 are 2 quarters, making a half, I should say, which is pretty standard for current Hasbro stuff. I'm not sure if we'll ever get the other 2 Micromasters because Micromasters aren't really as much of a thing anymore. Kingdom got rid of them. They replaced them with a core class. I do miss my Battle Masters, Micromasters. I mean, they're cool, but like I just got like a bunch here to the side that I haven't even posed up on the shelf again yet, even though I really like this guy and his companion. It's this one? No. His companion is somewhere. Oh, I just dropped someone. Picking it up. Where's his accessory? He's still got it. Okay, cool. So I just got a bunch of Micromasters in a pile over here that I gotta dust and put back on the Decepticon shelf there. So I'm not too shocked that Micromasters aren't a thing, but if these guys have been included, I would like to maybe see in the future us get the rest of this little Micromaster team now that we've unlocked it through Victory Saber. And that's that, 20,000 backers. Well, about 22,000 backers, I actually think was the final amount. Hang on, let me just double check. I think I might say it on the website. 27,362 people had backed Victory Saber. That's awesome. I believe he's coming out late next year. Yeah, winter 2022, which this is an American site. So for us, that's summer, end of next year. So I'm excited to get this guy. He looks so cool. He just looks like a badass Transformer, very clearly in a lot of ways a Japanese Transformer. Just there's something about the design. I don't want to call it very Gundam, but there's just something that about it that's very Japanese G1 in his look. Like he's almost like the quintessential Japanese G1 character. So I am super excited to get my hands on him. I don't know where he's going to go on the shelf because I'm running out of space. I'm not going to lie. That Transformer shelf is jam-packed. So I'll figure it out when he gets here. I've got a year to figure it out. I've got a year. But again, I did also say that about the Sentinels and Unicron. And Unicron is legitimately, and I'll show you guys, Unicron is legitimately just on a shelf next to me constantly. And he's not going to, oh, is that dust? No, that's just the top of my screen. Jesus. He's right there. All right. So I haven't really gotten a good place for him. Like that's there. My Transformers are here. He's just sitting next to my bed watching me sleep all the time. And the Sentinels are going there. Yeah, that's my X-Men there. If I do an audio version for this podcast, I feel like this whole section is going to be ludicrously unfortunate. But the point is, I say I've got a year to figure out where to put Star Saber. I never did figure out where to put Unicron or the Sentinels until like the last moment. And even then, I wasn't prepared for Unicron's size. So I don't think I'm actually prepared for all the Sentinels. I got 5 of those guys coming in. Yeah, 5. I bought 5 Sentinels because I'm mad. I'm ludicrously mad. I'm insane. I don't know why I bought 5 Sentinels other than just to army build them. It's good though, because they're exclusive and they'll never happen again. I was actually half tempted to get 2 Unicrons and 2 Star Sabers, but what can you do, right? I didn't, because I wanted to spend my money on other things. Other things such as Segway, nailed that one. I didn't get to talk about my comic and toy fair haul. So last Monday was the Adelaide Comic and Toy Fair, and I bought like $300 worth of things. And I didn't get a chance to talk about it on Comic Thoughts last week. I was going to do a video separate from them anyway, and I just never got time. So now that we're here, I feel like it's finally time for me to talk about the toys I bought, because I bought a few. So I think I'm going to start with the first one I got. So I walk into the toy fair, I just start walking around, just start seeing what everyone's got. Within 10 minutes, I already saw like 100 things I want to buy. I saw someone selling a Mythic Legions figure. Like, I've never seen anyone in the wild sell that. I can only buy them online, like through eBay, Big Bad Toy Store, and Store Horsemen themselves. So I've never seen one in person before, right? Beyond the ones I own. So I thought that was awesome, right? That there was someone selling one. I get to this stall and I recognize who's behind it. And I'm trying to remember what his name is on eBay. I believe he said he had an eBay page, something like Iceman Cave or Iceman's Cave, something along those lines. If anyone knows who this is, who I'm talking about, let me know. If you were at the toy fair, he was not too far from the main entrance. Last time I bought from him the Family Matters 3-pack with Magneto, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch, because I missed out on it. That was an Amazon exclusive, right? This year, I also bought I believe an Amazon exclusive Marvel Legends 3-pack from the same guy. It's Nimrod, Phantom X, and Psylocke. So yeah, I've done it twice. I bought a 3-pack from him twice, and there's a couple other things that he had that I like the look of as well. But what really got me buying this, not only just because I don't have it and I wanted it and it's cool, I don't actually know who Nimrod is. I am catching up on my X-Men as we speak, but I'm still behind. And I'm pretty sure he's like modern X-Men character. I'm pretty sure. So I'll find out who he is eventually. But Nimrod looks super cool. I needed the updated Phantom X because the previous one that I still have is not great. Psylocke is more of the one that I'm least interested in on this set because I don't really have an X-Force display, and I prefer the purple look for Psylocke. I mean, the black's really cool, but the purple bluish gear that she has is better. It's purple blue, blue purple, it's somewhere in there. I prefer her more classic look to this one. So as much as I love X-Force, and if I could, I'd have an X-Force display because I do have Wolverine, Deadpool, and X-23. She's probably going to be the one out of these lot that goes into like a storage chest. That being said, I also bought it because it was, and I've actually got the sticker on here still, $95. Now this $95 is a pretty good price. I think it was more closer to like 120 standard or something around there. But like online prices for this set now, at least last I checked, is like $200. So it's like half price from what I was finding online for it. And now that I've bought this for $95, it's probably online on Amazon again for like 80, knowing my luck. Haven't opened it yet because I haven't got time. I've got so many Marvel Legends I've got to open. Like I've got boxes of Marvel Legends everywhere. I'm just going to finish sorting out the ones I've already got before I can get the new ones out. Speaking of Marvel Legends, actually, I also got the Spider-Man Vintage Wave Mysterio. So, well, vintage line, not vintage wave. He's not part of a line. He was more of a separate exclusive. So I got this bad boy from Sam. Sam still had him, and Sam was selling him for $25, and I was able to convince him to bring it down to 20. So, absolute legend, Sam, you are. Thank you for this. He's got his cool smoke effect pieces like that. I was mentioning them before for a reason. I do like him. I've got the previous non-classic Mysterio. Well, okay, so this is like classic Mysterio that everyone's aware of, gold and green and all of that good stuff. The Mysterio that's over there, the one that originally came out as part of a Spider-Man Build-A-Figure wave, is more old school first appearance Mysterio, because I believe Mysterio did originally have like the bright green gloves and boots, and then later on he changed to gold. So yeah, this I think is the version that most people think of. This is like his 90s version. Every time I get a vintage Spider-Man toy, I have like an instant shock of nostalgia, because these were the kind of, you know, that packaging was the type of packaging that the toys I was getting when I was a kid had, and the costumes that they all got, and the art style that goes with it, and just everything. It just hits me. These are almost pure nostalgia buys sometimes, because I didn't need this. Like, I have the previous one, but I guess this one just hits the spot a bit better. The gold makes such a difference. I also, here's the thing, I didn't expect that the head sculpt was going to be different too. So the head sculpt over there is like it's like a skull with tentacles coming out of it, but this is just a guy's head. I don't even know whose head. Like, it almost looks, it just looks like a standard guy. So I think it's meant to be Quentin Beck's head that's under the dome, the fishbowl. But yeah, so I'm really happy that I got him, and made me super happy to open up the box. And when I say super happy, I mean like it was fun, but I really do wish that those boxes were more collector friendly. Maybe they are collector friendly and I'm just an idiot and I don't know how to open those boxes without damaging them. Not that I would keep the boxes, but there was always a part of me that's like, I kind of want to, because again, childhood, nostalgia, even I can't beat nostalgia. So I got him. And then, speaking of nostalgia, there's this one stall at the back of the gym, and I believe it was Toys R Go, I believe they are called, if I'm not mistaken. They have a physical store here in Adelaide, like a brick and mortar store, if I am not mistaken. And Goodwood Road, Door Park, South Australia. Yep. So I believe that this is the stall I got it from, because I've been to the store a few times and they do have a couple of loose Transformers in the store. And I'm looking through their loose Transformers and I see a couple of Transformers animated toys. Now, Transformers animated was my childhood. Like, I was really getting into collecting toys, and I was getting into Transformers in 2007. That's when the first movie came out. That's when these toys came out. So there's a couple of toys I have nostalgia for that I owned, like the Transformers Cybertron Swindle. There's a couple of toys that I have nostalgia for because I couldn't own, because I couldn't find them. And one of them is this Transformers animated deluxe class Soundwave with Laserbeak. I could never find these guys in store, and I wanted them so badly. I wanted them so badly, to the point where I looked at I think it was a $50 price point. And I went, why not? Bought them. I walked over to Sam and Bryony's Nerds Paradise stall. I sat down in the bleachers because we had some seats there, and I transformed him because he was in vehicle mode. As soon as I was done transforming him, like, I felt that shock of joy. Like, it's so cool having this guy, and I'm just putting him down so I can transform Laserbeak, because it was so cool to have the most ridiculous, like, Transformers thing possible in my possession. Because, like, you know, here we have Soundwave playing Laserbeak as a guitar, because that makes sense. Because that's a robot in disguise right there. A guitar the size of a motorcycle is the perfect disguise. I love it. I was so happy with it that I had to go back and get more, because they had more. They had Jetfire and Jetstorm, which someone else actually bought, like in front of me. They had Bumblebee, Deluxe Bumblebee, which I was this close. And they had Samurai Prowl. Now, I actually did some filming while I was at the Adelaide Comic and Toy Fair, which I'm gonna put together, put a video out on the channel at some point. But this is the one that made me go, oh, no way, they've got it, because I could not find Samurai Prowl anywhere. And to be honest, like the toy, like it doesn't matter. Like so, the toy is a separate figure of Prowl. Like the OG Prowl was re-released with the samurai armor, right? The thing is that the armor is actually incredibly restrictive to the articulation. Like you can't, his arm can't move further than that. Like that armor is super getting in the way, right? His lower body is not so affected, but even his head can't really turn anymore. Like he can, but the helmet, like that helmet there, doesn't turn with the head. So you can't really pull off a lot of really cool ninja poses, right? With Samurai Prowl. That is like sad, but far from the point, man. Like the fact that I wanted this so badly because it was so cool. I thought the idea of the samurai armor, the fact that you have a police motorcycle that gets an upgrade in the form of a sidecar that turns into armor, I thought was the coolest thing. Prowl made a sidecar really cool, and I'm all for it because of it. And Prowl's just such a cool character. One of my favorite like reimaginings of a character. Like it was the most detached from G1 Prowl, yet in a way still spiritually connected to him for being kind of a jerk. I love this toy. I could never get it. Now I got it in hand. I'm so happy he's here. And it makes me want to go around and start looking for more Transformers animated toys. So if I can, next toy fair, I'm going to see if there's any more hiding around the place. So I absolutely wouldn't mind having a small collection of ones I have and ones I never had. So I got those two for nostalgia, got Mysterio for nostalgia. Got one more thing from the toy fair, and I have to give a big thanks to Sam because he's the reason it happened. It's about to leave the toy fair. I've been there for all about 4 hours. It's time for me to go. Go looking for Sam because he's not at the stall. Find him talking to someone else at a different stall. Walk up, give him a big hug from behind. I literally walk up and pick him up and hug him. And when I put him down, I see that at the stall he's standing at, there's this box. It's a silver and black one. And my brain is going, I recognize that. And I'm going, I don't know what that is. So clearly it's something that I wasn't thinking about or didn't intend on getting that I've looked at before. And Sam sees me eyeing it and he gets this look on his face like, okay, he's seen it. And I'm thinking, well, he's getting that reaction to be seeing it. Clearly it's something he thinks I want. So I go over, I pick the box up, and it is the Hasbro Dungeons and Dragons Drizzt and Guinevere. I believe that's pronunciation. Drizzt and Guinevere. Drizzt is like an old school D&D character that has been around for a very long time. In almost every edition of the game, he's been involved. He's in a bunch of novels. I don't know much about the character. I know he's a drow. I know he abhors the more evil ways of his people, and I know he's a heroic ranger. So, that's what I know about Drizzt. Don't really know much about Guinevere or why he's got a pet panther. I just know that the idea of having this really cool pet panther was enough for me to want to get this set, but maybe not enough to want to get it for the prices I was seeing online, because without an American postal address, which I gotta, get one established for myself at some point probably. Drizzt is, was like an American exclusive essentially. Like I couldn't get him here in Australia without going through secondary market, and secondary market has him at a bloated price to say the least. So much like the 3-pack over there, I couldn't get my hands on these guys for a price that I could justify just yet. So when I saw him for $70 instead of the like 140, 150 I was seeing, like half price of the bloody online version, I was like, you know what, you beauty, I'll get it. I didn't have $70 on me at the time. I was going to the next day in my account, but I didn't at the time. So I asked Sam, and Sam graciously lended me a $50 and $20 note to pay for this. And I paid him back. I also paid him back for the food that he got me to go get everyone. So I'm not in debt to the man financially, but I am in debt to the man through his kindness. This is such a cool set. This panther here is so cool, and it's actually something that I've been thinking about displaying with my Black Panther, like my Marvel Legends Black Panther up there. I've been thinking about displaying him with that, because that would make sense, right? Like Black Panther, a Black Panther. It's like a piece of iconic visual stuff for the character, but Drizzt here is an absolute star. His articulation, his presence. I don't know which edition of D&D this is specifically based on. Looking at some pictures, I think it might be 4th edition, Drizzt, but it could easily be 5th edition. Now, like, he just comes with a bunch of accessories, comes with these effect pieces, which, like I said, effect pieces, love them. The cape's removable, the necklace underneath is removable, the hair is interchangeable, like interchangeable hair. That's awesome. Interchangeable head, so you get 2 expressions. Like, I was just posing him around the other day, and I'm like, this guy is so posable. He's so cool. He's got so much going on. I got it for $70. I'm so glad I got this. $70 for, you know, these 2 here, worthwhile, right? And even cooler, and you know, because it's a Dungeons and Dragons set, right? And I was talking about the AD&D NECA stuff and the Vox Machina thing. So you all guys know that I have my D&D love. He also came with a D20, like a big, thick D20 exclusive to the set. And I haven't rolled this D20 yet. So let's do it now. Let's see what I get. Let's see if this dice has got luck on its side. I got a 10. So perfect average in the middle. I'll take it. You know, if I was proficient in the skill, I probably would have passed the check. So 10, I'll take it. This dice is good. This dice is on the good side. And if you haven't played D&D before, you would know that there are dice you start to favor and dice you start to feel like are cursed when playing D&D. Unless you're my mate Jake, then every dice you touch is cursed because he has the worst luck. And I mean it, the worst luck. There are so many stories we could tell of Jake's characters just not being allowed to live, essentially, because reality decided that he needed to suffer. But that's for another day, because really that's all we have time for today. I covered a lot of ground. We talked about some Dragon Ball, talked about some Marvel, talked about some D&D. I still don't know what I'm going to call this show at all. We'll figure it out. In fact, if you're watching this right now, in the comments below, if you have an idea, let me know, because I would love to get a name for this show that isn't Connor's Corner. I would really like to get a name for this show that is not Connor's Corner. Well, with that being said, thank you for joining me today. If you have liked what you've seen, there is a like button there. I know I'm not trying to force your hand on anything. I'm not trying to do the YouTuber spiel, but please give me likes. It makes me feel better about myself. And I need people to make me feel better about myself because I can't do it. If you liked it enough that maybe you want to see more, there's a subscribe button down there too. And like I said, if you have an idea for the show name, or you just want to make a comment on anything I've said here today, call me silly or call me intelligent or whatever you want to say, comments are below as well. Share this around if you think it's worth doing. This is still a work in progress, trying to figure out what this is going to look like moving forward. But we'll do it together. We're on this journey together, you and me, holding hands, getting through this wild, wild world together, one Friday afternoon at a time. Unless you decide to watch this on Saturday, in which case, Saturday afternoon at a time. Or Sunday or Monday or whenever you get time to watch this. Just, we're in this together. Okay. Cheers, everyone. Also, by the way, I got Hot Toys above my head. I got a Hot Toy Captain America right here as well. I've been meaning to mention that I decided to buy some Hot Toys, which was a terrible idea because these things are really, really cool. And now I'm going to spend a lot of money on them. So I might end up talking about that next time because bloody hell, it's a lot of money I've spent already. I got 3 of them and they're all about $400 each. So that's $1,200. $1,200 dues. Shameful. Bye.